Well, good day, Katie. Nice earrings.
Thank you.
I love it. You got the lightning bolts.
Yes.
Well, we are back today. Thank you for meeting me out here. You were nice enough to fly into Minneapolis again. We love going to the Mall of America, and we have meant in the times that we've came here to mention some interesting history here that we haven't, so we're going to do it today. There's actually a lot of history inside of here that we wanted to point out, and this should be a lot of fun. Daze with Jordan the Lion and Katie. It begins right now. Like we said, Katie and I have been wanting to kind of mention the history of something specific here, but I actually recently saw a video that a channel called The Hidden Middle made, and it was kind of fascinating because if you've ever seen our other videos, they have some historic plaques around the Mall of America pertaining to when it was the Met, when the Minnesota Vikings, the Minnesota Twins used to play here on these grounds, and a lot of history pertaining to that is noted in there, but there's some that isn't, and so that's what we wanted to show today. The Hidden Middle went above and beyond and kind of found something fascinating that they put their own plaque here for, and I want to see if the plaque's here, so I figured I could help promote their video by showing it and tell you some of the other great history that happened on these grounds in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So we're going to go back in time for some of our history today. All right, here we are. This is our favorite entrance. When the mall opened, Ray Charles was here for the opening and sang America and the New Kids on the Block, but they were nice enough when they created this place. I mean, this place is huge. It's 4 stories, biggest mall in America, but they were nice enough to put a little bit of the history for the sports teams as soon as you walk in. The history that Katie and I were excited to do today that nobody has really talked about is Nirvana.
Nirvana, yes.
Kurt Cobain had a very memorable trip here while they were recording in utero, and we're going to talk about that.
Yes.
So on the second floor, right above where we walked in, they have this photo, and it says, Super Bowl 52, the Mall of America asked their guests to share photos of their memorable sports experiences. So this is the conglomeration, the art that they made from that. So we're actually going to be exploring a lot of the theme park, Nickelodeon Universe, because that is where home plate was in the stadium, and they've put a plaque there. So once we find home plate, we can kind of show you how it was laid out. Some Beatles history that happened here, some Harmon Killebrew history. I love that they've done this though. Katie, we found this stuff before and it took us a long time to find it. We just didn't vlog it, so it should be easier today.
Exactly.
Yeah, we found out that one of the plaques we were looking for you could see from the log chute. So let's see where home plate is. So if you come over here by the giant pineapple, that's where you'll find home plate. The plaque is right there. Now the significance of this is, of course, how many pitches, how many home runs, how many historic moments, how many Hall of Famers would have played here. But this being a giant venue, this is also where the Beatles performed when they did their concert here in Minneapolis. And they actually brought out the equipment manager of the Vikings, and he was able to kind of figure out what they were trying to do is figure out where the sauna was. But what I thought would be fascinating is show where we have figured out where the stage would have been that the Beatles played. The equipment manager of the Vikings was with them for 48 years and said he really knew this stadium when it was here like the back of his hand. So he said if he figured out where home plate was, which is where we are, he could tell from walking up the first base line, finding the dugouts, he could actually walk us to where he believed the sauna was. And the reason that was a big deal is because the Beatles had never taken a sauna before. And so when they came here, they were offered, hey, do you guys want to take a sauna for the first time? And they're like, yes, of course. So that would have been where they took their, first sauna, which kind of interesting, So there's home plate. And I'm going to kind of show you where they walked, and we'll also show you where the Beatles would have performed. So in order to do that, we're basically going to have to walk straight ahead because we found photos of the stage and it was directly on top of second base. So if you go around the Reptar-mobiles, and we also can figure out kind of where that would have been because on the wall they have where Harmon Killebrew hit a record-breaking home run. This is it, right here, where this thirsty sign is. This is where the stage would have been set up, right here. Home plate was straight that way, so the stage would have been set up right here. Of course, we know that the Beatles wouldn't play concerts for very long because they were playing here because they were too big for other venues, but they got to be so big that the fans were so loud you couldn't even hear them play anymore, and the band decided, if the fans can't hear us, why are we playing concerts? So they quit doing shows. Now let's walk off to where they believe what they did was they brought the equipment manager out here and let him walk it, and he actually showed where he believed, based off his memory, the sauna would have been, where the Beatles would have taken their sauna, but also they also got the blueprints and then laid them down on top of the blueprints here, and we'll show you how close he was. So here we have another interesting piece of history. This was the 50-yard line for the football field, Metropolitan Stadium, and you can tell that they're commemorating, it says 174 coin tosses happened on this spot at the start of each game. But what they don't mention is that we found out through the hidden middle video that on this very spot, the Vikings were playing an important game, were winning the game against the Cowboys, and Roger Staubach called the very first Hail Mary on this spot, drew back, threw a touchdown, and the Dallas Cowboys won the game. So this is where the Hail Mary pass was invented. Right here in front of the claw machine. And Katie, we read that that was kind of the start of the loss of sports in Minnesota history as well.
Unfortunately.
One of the things I want to see is in that other guy's video, with the plaques that we saw on the ground telling the history, he also made a plaque of the Beatles using the sauna here, and he put it down, and I want to see if they let him keep it here. So he and the equipment manager come walking right through here, and the guy's pointing out, like, oh, this would have been Fran Tarkenton's locker, and this would have been all the offensive line, and he gets all the way through here, and the guy says once he gets to Chanel that that is where he is sure that the sauna would have been located. It's not on the blueprints, but he finds the blueprints and he remembers exactly where it's located. It's just not drawn out on there. So the guy then looks at the blueprints, and his blueprints actually say that Urban Outfitters right there would have been the true location of the sauna. So that's how far different from here to here the guy's memory was. Now, the guy who made the video actually put a plaque to John Lennon right in the middle of these seats where the planners are. So he put the plaque right down there, but I don't see it. So maybe it was just for the video and they removed it. Well, we were coming out here anyway, and we saw this. I was like, I often wonder if these are a setup, and that's why I wanted to come. I wanted to see if the mall was cool enough to let them keep it here, because that's a cool Easter egg for people that, are coming here and maybe see this video, see that video. They're going to be looking for that plaque, and it is not here. So where are we going now, Katie?
Well, should we look for some locations involved?
Bare bones?
Yeah, bare bones.
So when Nirvana was recording in utero at Pachyderm Studios, Kurt was battling his drug addictions, and so they were trying to do things to keep his mind off of it, but they were in a pretty secluded place. So this was one of those weird, odd days that they said, like, hey, let's take Kurt to Mall of America. And the producer was actually like, that's maybe one of the dumbest ideas ever, because he'll be recognized by everybody. But they brought him here. He had a field day, had a blast, they say, hung out all day, but he ended up buying a bunch of very memorable things here. So back when Kurt came here with the, it would have been Kurt and Chris, they would have came here. This was actually bare bones, because we found an old photo that kind of matches up right here, showing it at the time. And we also found that the address on one of the old maps was N100, which you can see at the very top up there. So you did all the sleuthing and you actually found this, so I'll let people hear from you. Why was this so cool in Nirvana history?
Well, it was just kind of an interesting tidbit that he had such an interesting tie to this area, because he actually did a little bit more exploring than what maybe the record label and everybody really wanted him to. So this was really historic because he kind of picked and chose pieces that really reflected what he wanted to say about the album.
Well, tell him what this store was. Yeah. He had
medical supplies.
It was all medical supplies.
Yeah,
so
skeletons and different parts like that.
Yeah, Kurt came here because at the time this was a medical supply store, ironically, and he used to make art back in Washington and sell it. That was people thought was kind of morbid, because he would make it with this kind of stuff. And so when he came here, he found a ton of stuff. And Katie and I were reading that all the props and everything that he bought that ended up in the artwork or on the album cover or in the music videos, like the skulls and the skeletons and everything that were stage props for In Utero, he bought them inside here. Now what's fascinating was that Katie found that the store never cashed his check, did they?
Nope, they never cashed his check because they considered it an autograph, so...
They got thousands of stuff for free.
Yep,
all because he was Kurt Cobain. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people that love In Utero. I mean, to me, that was very, very fascinating, because when I saw the heart-shaped box video, which is where he got all the props for that video, was right here at Bare Bones. When I saw that video, I remember thinking, I've never seen anything like this. To this day, it still sticks out as my maybe most shocking video that I saw as a kid, because I didn't necessarily understand it, but I admired what he was doing with it. It was just so out of the ordinary for an MTV video. I have always wondered where this was, and I kind of always forget to mention it whenever I've come here, and then I always remember it afterward and say, I'll just do my own separate video on this. But thanks to Katie, we were actually able to figure out where exactly he bought all this stuff. So that same year, another big momentous thing in my history, or whatever you would say, my interest of history, WCW had lured away Hulk Hogan before this from WWF, and they were trying to become the biggest wrestling organization in the world. When that happened, the WWF made Lex Luger their golden boy. They had signed him from WCW, and they were trying to make him the next Hulk Hogan. Didn't really work, but in an attempt for WCW to overtake the popularity, they would start a new television program that would air opposite of WWF Raw. And when they did that, they signed Lex Luger away, and they debuted their very first show from here, and Lex Luger walked out. We're gonna show you where he walked out. Shocking the world, didn't he, Katie? I'm not even joking. I do personally feel that they should put a plaque there for Kurt Cobain buying his stuff for In Utero, and I think they should put a WCW Nitro plaque here. All right, look up. We have found the rotunda. I think this must be a permanent thing now, having the stage here, because I feel like every time I've been here, they've had one here. So this was it. This was where they had the ring, and where they were hoping to change their entire course of history by taking over the WWF. Now, here's Barnes & Noble, here's Sea Life. So Katie kind of figured out from looking at photos that when he came out, when Lex Luger made his appearance in that white shirt, it was actually, would have been over here from where the Sea Life was, and he would have came this direction. Now that was not the only piece of history made we have not shown you. They have a very, very unique remembrance of history up on the walls by the log ride. So we're gonna go over and see what Harmon Killebrew did there. The big reason they wanted to have it here for the debut is because they weren't real sure that they could pack the crowd, and they figured if they had it at the most popular mall in the country, good chance you'd have a lot of free viewers walking around that would stop and watch the matches. So that's what they got. Go back in the Nickelodeon universe to show you this one. Incidentally, I showed it in another video, but at the time that Nitro debuted, Hulk Hogan also debuted a pasta joint in this place. It was up on the second floor up there. So you can see the log ride starting right up here. And right as you're riding it, right up there, they have a thank you to Harmon Killebrew. That was the, I believe they said the furthest home run hit at the park. Take a look. So what they did was they put a seat right up there where that home run was hit. Fascinating history for this mall. I love this because the first time I came here, I had no idea that it even had all the sports history on the grounds. It's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah, it's really neat.
And to see they memorialize it up there in ways, putting it up on the wall, I just love that. What a cool place. Well, I guess that will do it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing some kind of crazy history you may not have known about the Mall of America and what happened on these grounds. Thank you all for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.